Charlie Murphy. Charlie Murphy. Charlie Murphy. His unforgettable stories.
I came down on it like this.
Made him a household name.
I don't think that anybody can tell a story the way Charlie Murphy tells a story.
He's a habitual line stepper.
Charlie going to one of them stores and everybody in the room was on the floor dying laughing.
You gotta be the black mark for it.
No, I ain't making it. No, that's real.
I mean, the very, very black mark for it.
Chappelle's show may have thrust him into the limelight, but Charlie Murphy has been telling stories for 30 years.
Hell yeah.
First as a writer and an actor.
What's your name, bitch? Albert.
Charlie has a great energy as an actor. He brings a great energy to the screen.
You need to find another place to be a bum man, homie. This is my complex. I run this.
At the flip of a switch, he can go from very natural character.
Because you want to continue busting your ass with no money and lifting heavy.
To an absolutely crazy, out of control sketch character.
You get anyone at someone
Then years later as a stand-up comic, sharing a stage with comedy heavyweights on the widely popular Comedy Get Down tour.
What's that?
He would always give you something new and something honest and something real.
The reason why I voted for Barack Obama is because he said he was going to help out the middle class. Okay? And that's my whole family except for one mother.
But Charlie's path to success has been a decades-long battle. From a childhood spent one step ahead of the law.
Charlie was just thug. Busting the house, you know, with a gun and say, hide this. That's what I
To fighting to carve out a career in the shadow of a legend.
Charlie was on stage, somebody yelled out, "Yo, you ain't Eddie!"
He was always so talented, but he had that rough side too. That is probably the true identity of who Charlie Murphy is. He's always been this person that's been fighting to win.
I always felt like it was this thing in front of me. You can't be acknowledged to your fullest. And I worked hard to be where I'm at right now. I'm here because I deserve to be here.
Unparalleled, untold, unsung Hollywood. Charlie Murphy. Charles Quentin Murphy was born on July 12, 1959. His parents, Charles and Lillian, raised Charlie and younger brother Eddie in the Tilden Projects in Brooklyn, New York.
We lived in the projects. I have great memories that were basically memories of ass whippings. I was always that kid, you know, let's climb up that pipe right there, and I'm gonna put my footprints on the ceiling. And my mother would come home from work and be like, how did he get his footprints on the ceiling?
He was very energetic. He was always in devilment, always into something. Very, very smart.
Charlie's father was a New York City transit cop, but after hours, he, like many of his siblings, was drawn to the performing arts.
A fortune teller or a palm reader had told my grandmother that somebody in the family was going to be famous. So all my uncles and my dad went into show business.
My Uncle Sonny, my Uncle James, my dad, and my Uncle Leroy, they used to all do comedy. They had poems, they had jokes, they had music.
They was out there doing stuff. They was out there trying. It didn't happen to the next generation.
From a young age, Charlie found he had a knack for comedy as well.
My comedy thing came in the form of teasing others. Like if you went to school with me and you had anything wrong with you, I was gonna bring that up every day.
His imagination was crazy. You talk about your mother, your sister, everybody.
I remember once going upstate New York. I had bad skin. He was doing all these bump jokes. And my mother was literally like swerving, laughing, in the car laughing. Charlie could take you to the joke to where everyone is laughing and you start crying or you want to fight.
Charlie's parents divorced in 1965. He and Eddie stayed with their mom. And although they saw their father less, the comedic influences continued. Through comedy albums, he and Eddie were forbidden to listen to.
So we had Richard Pryor, we had Red Fox, we had Rudy Ray Moore. Dolomite was my favorite. My mother actually walked past the bathroom and she heard an 8-year-old in the shower say, "Some say that Willie Green was the baddest mother the world has ever seen." My mother would say, "What did you just say?" And I would say, "There's nothing, I'm taking a shower."
A few years later, Charlie took his talents to the big screen when his mother won a raffle for a small role in a movie being filmed in their neighborhood called The Landlord.
I worked with Hal Ashby. Bo Bridges was the star. Pearl Bailey was in the movie.
You got funny eyes.
There was this scene where he stole a hubcap. Charlie stole a hubcap, and we all went to the movies. You know, he was only in the movie for that long.
Yeah, I was a little kid. When we were shooting it, felt like it was gonna be like an hour scene. And I remember when we went to see that, the whole family got dressed up, you know, like Easter Sunday. Davey! Gone. It's over.
He was like an extra in the picture, but he was in it. He got in show business before me, technically.
The good times came to a halt after filming the movie when Charlie's father was murdered by his girlfriend.
He had an argument with a female. He went to sleep and she stabbed him and killed him. She didn't do no time. It was a travesty, man. I know it affected us tremendously.
I was 8. So, you know, it was a big, sad, grieving thing.
The older of the two, at age 10, the father's death cut deep and would affect Charlie for years to come. Helping to ease things at home was the new man in their mother's life, Vernon Lynch, a former pro boxer. They married and had a son, Vernon Jr. And in 1970, the family moved to Roosevelt, Long Island.
You're moving out of the ghetto. You're moving into having your own house. And for black people back then, that was like, wow, that's great. It turned into another ghetto.
We moved out there. Our house got robbed the first week we moved in. It was off the hook.
And while Charlie's brother Eddie was focused on dreams of being a comedy star, Charlie was drawn to a totally different world.
Two parks in Roosevelt. You had the Roosevelt Park where all the goody-good kids hung out. That's where I hung out.
As you can see, they have a lake, gazebo, they got tennis courts. People who went on to go to college, productive citizens, those people went to this park.
And then you had Centennial Park. That's where all the gangs and tough dudes, and Charlie was one of those guys.
This is where the black niggas come out and go to the park. Niggas just coming out to shoot dice, shoot dope, and shoot each other. Yeah, a lot of shit went down here in Centennial Park, which I'm sure is still going down. And that's why we're gonna hurry up and get the out of here. I don't know why I was drawn to that, but I was.
Charlie joined 2 local gangs, and by 17 had begun committing petty thefts, and developed a rep for starting and ending trouble.
You know, it probably would start a problem with someone rather than to just let it go past, you know.
Actually, you didn't really have much trouble because Charlie was so tough that people would be like, leave him alone.
One night, Charlie's penchant for trouble nearly caught up with him. After being jumped by a classmate, he let everyone know he planned to retaliate.
That was stupid because I was telling everybody, yeah, you tell when I see him again, you better get that. So when I seen him again, it was like, you looking for me? He had the gun in my hand and he pulled the trigger. Click. And the gun didn't go off.
Charlie's life was spared, but months later, he was back in trouble again.
One of my friends, I had to come across a gun. Let's rob the cab driver. I think everybody got like $2 or something like that, $3 for armed robbery.
Charlie come in the house, you bust in the house, you know, with a gun and say,
Hide this. Hide this gun.
it's like, this what
Hide. You mean hide this?
The police came to my house. They had the light flashing on the house.
Charles Murphy, come up with your hands up.
Still underage, Charlie received probation, but after several more arrests for petty crimes, he was sentenced to 1 year in county jail.
I look at my behavior after that happened, and a lot of things that I've done that was not good. When my dad was taken from me, I don't think I grieved properly. And you look back at your life and go, maybe you're mad about something, you know, feel cheated.
Upon release, Charlie prepared to go right back to Centennial Park, but his parents had other plans. They drove him to the Navy recruitment office.
That was probably the smartest move or life-saving move for me.
He was more mature. Just to see him with his hat on, and he looked dope. He had it together.
But it wouldn't be long before Charlie would be lured back to life on dry land.
My brother was like, how much you making in the Navy? I told him, he said, I'm gonna start you off with this. I said, what? I'll be home as soon as possible.
By the early 80s, Charlie Murphy had gone from petty criminal to serviceman. While on leave in 1982, he married 24-year-old Rosalind Balance from Brooklyn. Soon after, they welcomed a son named Charlie. Meanwhile, his brother Eddie was becoming Hollywood's hottest young comedian, rising through the ranks of Saturday Night Live to star in blockbuster films.
When I came home on leave, my brother was like, they come work for me, bro. It was 5 times as much I was getting paid in the Navy.
Charlie joined Eddie's security team, but it turned out the tough guy from Roosevelt wasn't the best fit for the job.
Charlie really took the security thing serious. If you ain't laugh at any of his jokes, he was ready to really physically fight you.
I heard you say, that nigga ain't funny. Ah! A few people got beat up, I'm not gonna front.
When you come to LA and you get an entertainment business, you gotta have tact, you know, and you gotta have a certain type of form. You can't be rough around the edges.
But as Charlie traveled with his brother, some assumed he was merely a hanger-on with little to offer.
He was on a boat, and I was standing within earshot of these 2 white men. He was saying, what does this one do? He doesn't do nothing. Just give him a tracksuit and he'll be happy. It hurt my feelings, but I didn't accept it as reality.
Charlie began to carve his own path in Hollywood, first as a screenwriter, using his street knowledge to write a movie called The Peddler.
I went to a seminar and learned how to build a script. And then I just put my imagination to it. I sold that script for $150,000.
Then he pursued acting, but his brother's fame loomed large.
At this time, when I'm doing this, my brother's already Beverly Hills Cop. So now you want to be an actor, huh? Can you laugh like it? Come on, laugh like it. Well, you can't. Oh.
In 1988, Charlie got a break. He was cast in the Mario Van Peebles primetime cop show, Sonny Spoon, in a bizarre role.
I played a character called Rat Man. The character was a Jamaican so mean that he chewed his own arm off to get out of jail. The Rat Man only grunts like the Wolf Man or whatever.
Charlie showed the finished episode to his brother Eddie.
He was a huge movie star. Here I am showing up with this video of me playing a monster. He laughed in my face, man.
Van Peebles was the dude who captured Charlie at the end, and he had Charlie tied up. And Charlie's one line was, I kill! And I laughed for 6 months.
And it kind of hurt my feelings that he laughed, but you know, I didn't let it stop me.
Charlie continued to get work, appearing in Eddie Murphy's 1989 film Harlem Nights and Spike Lee's Mo Better Blues. But he often felt the roles were offered less on merit and more on his name.
It was almost treated like, yeah, well, let's throw Eddie Murphy's brother in there, you know. He's a novice, we'll throw his brother in there. My name is Charlie, brother. There's always somebody that wanted you Eddie Murphy's brother.
You and Charlie look just alike.
And I don't think we could. Charlie has this huge thing here.
Yeah, I am Eddie Murphy's brother, but my name is Charlie, and you know it.
How you doing? I look like me. I look like my father. But I think you should shut up. You already messed up twice.
Soon, acting gigs dried up, and so had his marriage to Rosalind.
So when I started not getting work and getting depressed and being inside my own head, I started wanting to hurt people.
Yeah, man, you don't like to hang out with me anymore. It's like, Charlie, I like to fight, but every time we go out...
You know, I can't with Charlie right now. You know, it's too damn crazy for me.
But those same traits helped him land his first major role. Comedian Chris Rock sought him out to play a rage-filled gangster named Gusto for his 1993 hip-hop comedy, CB4.
I was excited to meet him because I was like, that's cool, Eddie Murphy's brother, let's see what he's like. And so Charlie comes into the interview and does the reading.
Yeah, this bitch got all the bitches.
And in the middle of the reading, pulls out a gun. I'm like freaking out, and Sean Daniels, the Universal producer, is just like going, is this guy really crazy, or is this a really good audition?
Like, what's your name, bitch? Albert. Just let out what was in me, and it was that, and I got the job.
When I say go, you go.
The role of Gusto allowed Charlie to showcase his authentic street edge and raw comedic talent.
Brother, you seem easily upset.
Gusto was a large percentage of the real Charlie Murphy.
There's something that's good when there's a slight bit of danger. Wasn't it fake? You know, scary. Like, he actually is a little bit real scary.
I got a little present for you, baby.
Yeah?
Look at, check it out. Got my Jimmy hat.
Oh?
Gusto was getting ready to have sex. Jumped on the workout bike. Gave him some push-ups and all this stuff to get himself pumped up.
Now crawl over here.
To have sex with Sissy.
Damn, bitch.
Oh, everybody knew Chris Rock, you know, the star.
So who's the bitch now?
But Charlie stole a lot of scenes in that movie.
CB4 became a cult classic and helped Charlie gain respect as an actor.
That made everybody know who Charlie was. For Charlie to be in that movie, it was like, okay, this is cool. Watch what's gonna happen with your career now.
Vernon's prediction was about to come true in spectacular fashion. Despite appearing as a gun-toting gangster in the '93 film CB4, Charlie Murphy had learned to temper his anger, ironically, through martial arts.
I started training and lifted the hate off me. I learned discipline. I learned how to let roll off me.
And he'd found love again with Tisha Taylor, a woman he met at a New Jersey restaurant.
First night that I met her, I introduced her to my entire family, and I said, this is gonna be my wife.
You were talking about somebody changing somebody. This other dude came out that was, you know, a solid dude.
In 1994, Charlie Murphy wrote the screenplay for his brother's film, Vampire in Brooklyn. He continued his acting grind into the early 2000s, but struggled to find substantial roles. But his luck changed in 2003 when he got a call for a part on a new comedy series called Chappelle's Show.
We were writing a sketch in 2003. It was a version of MTV's Real World. We were writing a character and we were like, we should get Charlie Murphy to do this.
I'm your new roommate, right?
You're at the room with Tyree.
Tyree was the guy that was, he was out of jail and he had a big chain around his neck like Tretch.
Well, look here, Chad. I better not catch you standing up pee. You sit down when you pee, you understand?
He has one of those faces that scare you into laughter. Like, even when they said cut, I was like, Charlie, you know the scene is over. But he will always walk around with that scowl on his face. Charlie, just on a normal day-to-day, there's a possibility that he might stab you.
Why you gotta be looking at me, white man?
I'm not looking at anyone. It's someone.
Stabbed the dude's father, shanked him. That goes back to when I was in jail and seeing people get shanked. I knew what it looked like.
The sketch and the series were a hit, and Charlie became a regular on the show. During breaks, he'd often regale the cast and crew with tales from his early life and past celebrity encounters.
Somebody brought up Rick James. I'm just eating, and Charlie goes, I had to fight that mother like 4 times.
Charlie's story led to a sketch called Charlie Murphy's True Hollywood Stories, about his wild adventures with Rick James in the 80s.
We went to Studio 54. We walking up into the VIP section, and I'm looking around to see who's there, and looking at the girls and everything. And all of a sudden, I heard something go, Charlie Murphy!
Dave was, I think the word is possessed. He was just talking extemporaneously as Rick.
Hold my drink, bitch. I'm Rick James, bitch!
The only advice Chappelle gave Charlie was like, tell a story.
I waited, because I knew what hotel he was staying in. Went up to his room, knocked on the door. Charlie Murphy! When he's coming for us, came.
I don't think that's gravitationally possible, but Charlie believes it. So we put harness on Dave, and then he flies and breaks the mirror.
Go ahead and have sex with Charlie Murphy. Rick James, bitch.
To say that Rick James is a habitual line stepper.
Habitually, he's a habitual line stepper.
It's like no one's ever said that about anyone.
He would go over the top, and then I would check him.
There's some real that he witnessed and was involved in, and to remember all those little nuances.
I mean, even when slapping was fashionable, and they would have a gunfight after that. Somebody had to go.
A lot of people don't believe him until you run into the mother he was talking about, and like, yep, that's how it went.
I came down on it like this. You won't come over here and disrespect like that again. Wrong. Talking about Rick James, man.
You see his great storytelling ability. That sketch right there shows you that he's funny and he's got his own thing.
The stunning success of the show launched 44-year-old Charlie into the mainstream spotlight.
It was a moment where he really got his identity and let the world know, I am Charlie Murphy.
Hell yeah. Only got one problem. Don't nobody ever whisper it no more.
People are coming up to me, but they're saying my name like this, though.
Charlie Murphy!
The success of Chappelle's show put Charlie in demand.
We would do interviews to, promote Chappelle's show and talk about it. Like, I knew that one thing that he was afraid of, or I thought he was afraid of, was getting on the stage. I was like, yeah, you can fight, you can threaten people, but I bet you won't get in front of the mic.
I was afraid to be in front of people.
35 years after Eddie retired, now his brother wanna do stand-up. Yeah, right, you gonna be funny, ho, ho, ho.
But to prove Donnell wrong, Charlie decided to face his fear and took the stage days later at New York's Laugh Factory.
First thing I said to the audience is that I don't give a if you think I'm funny in that. And they laughed. I was supposed to go up and do 5 minutes. I stayed up for 15 minutes. And I did well. With no show, no act. Just going from the top.
He did his thing, and that night it was birth of a comedian.
But to make sure it wasn't a fluke, Donnell took Charlie out the next night and the next, hitting up different comedy clubs in the city. And each time, Charlie rose to the challenge. Over the next year, Charlie kept working and developing material for his set. But some nights, there was only one thing fans wanted to hear.
Same day I met Rick James, Within 24 hours, I had 36 blowjobs.
Charlie! Come here, nigga. Black mama. Got the five Rick James, bitch. Smile, nigga, you in Shangri-La.
Of course, the Rick James sketch popped it off for me. I felt compelled to tell jokes about celebrities.
The male ego is the reason why Joe Jackson created the Jackson 5. Oh, he's a child abuser because he went white. Come on, man. Y'all all got parents, right? Joe just didn't have time for nobody to be up no dance steps.
In the fall of 2005, Mike Epps asked Charlie to open for his 18-city tour.
Now, the clubs I was playing, the audience was predominantly white. And so when I went on the road with Mike Epps, the audience was black. I'm a black person. I had to learn how to deal with a black audience.
On the first night, Charlie bombed, and the reality of being a new comic finally set in.
In front of 5,700 people, and they were cursing and yelling, "Get out of here! You ain't in it! Get out of here!"
Some of his stories were long. White audiences are very patient. The black audiences will teach you how to trim the fat off your jokes. Tell a joke, mother.
I started cursing back at them. Me too.
He hadn't really worked that circuit. You gotta be fast-paced. You gotta hit them. They're not gonna take that journey with you to get to that punchline. And when that happens, you take a hit.
After the show, Charlie went back to his hotel and called his brother.
Called my brother. I said, "Yo, man, I bombed, man. I can't believe it." He said, "You can't believe it. Richard Pryor bombed before. Red Fox bombed before. Chris Rock bombed before. What's your name again?" I said, "You know my name." He said, "Yeah. And don't call me over no dumb like this again," and hung the phone up.
The following night in Cleveland, Charlie bombed again. On the way to the next show in Washington, D.C., he contemplated quitting.
That's man, we bombed 2 days in a row, all black audience, and we pulled up to the Constitution Hall. I looked out the window. My brain was like, okay, where's the white people? Everybody was black going up the steps.
But a surprise visit from comedian Martin Lawrence changed everything.
He said, "How you start your show?" I said, "I just come out and start telling him." He said, No. With a black audience, you better break that ice first before you think you're gonna tell some jokes, bro. And then it clicked in. Like every time I would see black comedians, they come out and go, "Yeah, what's up? All the ladies is looking good tonight. Oh, look at the brothers, they all dressed up." And I went out that night and I did that and it worked. And I did my show and they loved me.
People don't say hello to me no more. They invented some brand new go just like this. Hey, Chop. Your couch, nigga.
Martin Lawrence pulled me right back from the brink.
My couch. That now means hello.
His worst shows behind him, Charlie successfully finished out the tour and used lessons from the road to hone his voice on stage.
Most comedians that I know, they were allowed to develop in the dark. I had to learn how to do all that in front of an audience that thought that I was already on that level.
Charlie had found his calling.